Hello and welcome to another episode of the Force Dive Podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you may be listening, we are honored that you've joined us. On tonight's episode, we're going to do some review of D23. That was last weekend. Not a ton to talk about, but we did get some firm dates for a couple of the upcoming shows. Disney Plus Day was last Thursday. With that came a new Disney Gallery and Andor sneak peek, so we'll talk about that briefly. And then we'll chat a little bit about the two most recent episodes, or issues, of the Obi-Wan comic. I believe the last issue comes out Wednesday, so we'll talk about issues 3 and 4. That and a little bit more, so sit back and relax. This is where the fun begins.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
Why is the Force connecting us?
I am a Jedi. Always do. There are.
We're a dyad in the Force.
And welcome to episode 35, Force Dyad Podcast. Jedi John here with Obi-Wan, as you heard in the intro. Very excited to be back. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Man, life has just been in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly good. Some bad, but mostly good. Man, what have you been up to?
Well, not a ton. Let's see. Since the last time we recorded, we've had Toyman, which we talked about in our last episode, which went well, I think, for both of us. You a little bit better than myself.
I bring more stuff.
That's true. Volume. And shout out to Jesse. We met him at the show. It was nice to meet a listener. So shout out to Jesse. And then we had Labor Day, which I didn't do anything for Labor Day. But the big thing, this past weekend we had our homecoming, our Manchester homecoming. So a whole weekend's worth of events. There's a parade Saturday morning. They bring in the carnival and all the rides and the $5 per attempt games. $5.
$5 an attempt?
An attempt. Like $5 to play.
What kind of games were there?
I don't know, but I remember them being like $1 when we were
That's
kids,
what they
and
should
now
be.
they're like $5. And the
Inflation,
games,
man. Inflation.
and the games didn't get any less rigged. So, I mean, I was watching kids try and win goldfish, which one is a terrible idea to begin with because that thing's gonna go kaput in about 5 days. But nevertheless, you got to put a ping pong ball in this tiny little fish bowl. And
Oh, yes.
didn't go well. But we went Friday, and that 80s band was playing, which was awesome. Connor is old enough now to where he can enjoy the rides and that sort of stuff. So we went on the slide, the big giant, fun slide thing,
Yes,
the
with
massive slide.
sacks.
Exactly, with the burlap sacks. So he and Kara went on that. We went on the Ferris wheel together, which was a lot of fun. Kara is really a big fan of heights, and when I shake the trolley,
She loves it, right?
the gondola,
She just loves it.
loves it.
Did Connor like it, though?
He did.
Oh,
He
that's-
giggled. But then there was this like helicopter ride that kind of was like a slow spinny ride that kind of went up and down. Then he and I went on this bouncy buggy ride, which I could hear the equipment cry from having to lift me. Like these hydraulic pistons are like lifting, and I could just hear the faintest whine, and I told Kara, I was like, I can hear it crying. But it was a lot of fun because you would hit certain points as you went around and it bounced you up. But the highlight was the this hurricane ride, which was basically like an intense centrifugal ride, like spinny ride.
That's a spinny ride.
A spinny,
For
the spinny ride, the spinny ones. But Connor wasn't even tall enough to ride with me, let alone go on it at all. But they let him on it, and so he loved it. But as you were going, and the speed picked up, you're at a standard level, and then all of a sudden the arms fling out and throw you up in the air, and then kind of like a flapping bird, like if you imagine you're on a wing of a bird. And it went on for a solid 5 minutes. I got off it. I thought I was going to toss my cookies, and then the staff member who had led us on the ride walked by, watching me waddle off as I was trying to keep my balance. He goes, "How was it?" And I gave him the okay sign, and he just started laughing and wandered off. And it was a blast. And we closed with the carousel. So it was a solid weekend. It was it was good. So what about you? Any fun news?
Well, I also went to a fair this weekend. I was down in it's a smaller town in southeast Missouri.
Isn't it a college town?
It is a college town, but it's a smaller town still.
Is it?
I mean, if college is not in session, it's pretty small.
That's
I
true.
feel like.
That's fair. All right.
But college was in session. But yeah, Cape Girardeau. Their county fair started on Saturday, so I was down there for work, and I had the night off, and I'm like, hey, I'll go check it out. I mean, everybody at the store was like, oh yeah, you gotta go check out the fair just to see it. It's a big deal, and they do a good job. First of all, they did a great job. Like, that place was full of stuff. Games, rides, you name it. I did not do any rides. I would have felt awkward going on fair rides alone. Very depressing.
Not the spinny ones.
Yeah,
spinny
no.
ones are for adults.
Yeah. But they did have quite a few rides. It looked like a lot of fun. Lots of food. I love the food. They had lots of food trucks, steak on a stick, and a plentiful beer garden. So it was an excellent time. I got some exotic jerky while I was there.
What was exotic about
Have you ever tried elk?
I don't think so.
Elk jerky.
You had elk jerky?
It was delicious.
How did it vary from deer jerky?
I think it was a little, I guess you could say more savory. That makes sense.
And this is why the people listen to our
Exactly.
podcast for the jerky reviews.
Jerky reviews. But I also got some buffalo jerky. Pretty excited about that. I didn't sample that, but I'm like, well, it's here, so I'll try it. And then I got some venison also while I was there for jerky, so it was good. It was a fun time. And then I had to get roasted nuts because what else do you do at fairs? So
Cashews, pecans.
I got a bag of cashews. It was like their hot and spicy blend. It's very, very.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's good.
Excellent.
And then almonds. I got pralines, and then the last one I got some black raspberry. Yeah.
Like were they like covered in jam?
Yeah, it kind of looks like it.
Like
It
okay.
kind of looks like it. So
Like
it's like
preserves?
glazed. I mean, it's basically like a glazed almond, but it's like black raspberry stuff. Yeah.
That sounds lovely.
It is delicious.
That's like something that you literally can only get at like a country fair.
Exactly. So that's why I got them. Like I was just because I was walking by it and I'm like, oh, roasted nuts. I don't need like. And then I realized it was like all these flavors, and they were letting you taste them because they wanted to sell them, and yeah. So buy two get one free. So that naturally
That's how they get you.
I had to get a third one. So I mean, why wouldn't you? That's such a deal. Such a deal. Anyway, it was a good time. For being alone for the weekend, away from the family, just gave me something to do on a Saturday night in between shifts. So it's a good time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, this weekend also was, we did this last season, right? We gave our brief fantasy football updates, right? This is the opening weekend for the NFL. And you're in like, what? I don't know, 13 leagues?
Too many leagues.
Like 13 leagues?
Everybody just kept asking, and I got volunteered for one, and then, it spiraled, and I lost control. So now I have
And you've lost control of your rosters, apparently, because your teams are not doing well.
I'm 50-50 here. Okay, 50-50. In the biggest money leagues, I'm feeling fine.
Okay, well, that's good.
I mean, I'm winning those.
That's important.
That's the important
That's
ones.
all that matters.
Yeah, it's going great. How's your team doing?
Is the boy waking up?
Yeah.
Oh, no. See, dad duty never stops. And I know, oh, yeah, he's sitting upright. Is he playing patty cake with himself?
That's going to be a problem. Well, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. See, the dad stuff never stops, right?
No.
We're always parenting.
Yeah.
We hope for a break, but nevertheless, my fantasy teams are doing amazing.
Except for your injuries. I mean, they're still winning.
We don't talk about the injuries because I didn't even need those positions this week.
I didn't start a running back, and I won that game.
There you go. I mean,
I did start a running back, but he was out before he started.
Oh, well, that's like my guy. Well, two of them. One touched the ball 3 times. The other blew out his knee in the first half. So the only league that I did lose in was to my wife in the family league. So Kara beat me this week
So good start there.
Great start. It's an auto draft. Like everybody just auto drafts, and the draft order is random. So she got first overall pick. So she got Jonathan Taylor, and
Yeah, he had a pretty good week.
He did okay. And then one of her receivers went off too. So nevertheless, it didn't go well. So what do we got here? Oh no.
It's right there.
He's looking for the pacifier.
It's right there.
We're giving the play-by-play.
He can't find it.
You know why? Because it's dark.
It's 4 inches to your left, son.
You could talk to him on the microphone.
He won't know what that means.
That's fair. He hasn't gauged distance yet. He hasn't.
It's your left hand. Look at your left.
He
hand.
hasn't.
Oh,
He
did he get it?
he doesn't understand the tangible distance changes. Up.
He heard us talking about it.
Fantastic.
He has found it.
He's going.
He has found
Go.
it.
Oh well.
He
No,
got it.
he's got to put it in his mouth though.
It's in there. He
Oh,
got it.
now he's gonna lay down.
It's going hard.
This is fantastic. This is the quality content people
Man.
people listen for.
Really appreciate you coming to listen to the Star Wars podcast tonight. It's really great.
Well,
Oh, go back down. Yes.
there it is.
Victory.
This is a win. This is a win for all of
This
us.
is better than any fantasy football win I could have asked for.
So first week fantasy football going well. I don't even have to watch the Monday night game. Well, unless DK Metcalf does something. So
I just needed Judy not to fumble the ball in the second half. I believe that's what I said.
he literally can't take a step backwards.
I am winning by a 1/10 of a point in one league. It's pretty bad.
To the
Oh, good. He got a second reception of the day.
there you go. You're safe.
Adding a point.
You're pretty much safe. so yeah, it's been a lot of stuff going on in the time between since we've last recorded, but
and a lot of news.
mhm.
We got a lot of news to get through tonight.
So shall we do the comics first and then wrap things with the D23 and Disney Plus Day discussions?
Yeah.
All right, let's do
it.
that. So diving into comics, we're gonna chat a bit about the last 2 issues of the Obi-Wan series. Coming out the first 2 episodes, you've got youngling Obi-Wan in issue 1, who kind of has to learn the lesson of separation and try not to form attachments. In issue 2, we've got Padawan Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon, again learning an important lesson that to lose your way, you can't worry about the things that are outside of your control. You have to just use the Force, allow the Force to guide you, and trust that it will show you the way, that it will guide your path. And so issue 3 picks up with General Kenobi, and in the throngs of the Clone Wars, specifically during the Battle of Abrion Bridge. And the task is to recover these plans for this super weapon that the Separatists are building. And the issue starts with what is a Jedi's role in war. And you remember from Attack of the Clones, Mace says we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers, right? And everyone knows how quickly that changed. And so you get the play-by-play of this battle. Obi-Wan flies in with his clone troopers. They're joined by another commando unit, which is supposed to help bolster their ranks, because the task at hand is borderline suicidal. But the primary message for both issue 3 and 4 is finding the light, and understanding that throughout the darkness, even though you go through dark periods or dark times or dark moments, that the sun will rise again, right? And that light can prevail. Without giving too many spoilers away, right? We all know that they're going to be successful, right? But
You mean Obi-Wan can't die during this issue?
he does have the plot armor, but it doesn't keep him from experiencing things that, again, as a Jedi, he's not used to having to deal with, right? It's only because he's been thrust into this role as a Jedi commander, a general, that he's now forced to to deal with. Specifically taking lives,
Oh, a
taking
lot of
taking a life, which they kind of touch on in this issue 25 of the Star Wars comics. When Obi-Wan's training Anakin, and that teaching him about the lightsaber, and how the person who wields it has to think very hard, carefully about what they're going to do with it, the life that they may have to take, right? And in this issue of Kenobi number 3, he's justifying what he has to do by saving others. I have to do this to help save other people, and it's something that he's clearly conflicted with. So
No, I think I think the whole taking a life is a tough thing to do, and that's one of the things that I know. I always go back to the movies when we were young, obviously, but Attack of the Clones itself, like, they weren't killing people; they were killing droids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much easier just to kill a relatively inanimate object.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a droid.
yeah,
So yeah, it's much easier than realizing that you're gonna have to kill people that have feelings, families, and other. So
right, and so you get to the end of the issue, and after everything that he and his men have gone through, including that commando group, he finishes by saying he has to sit and watch the sunrise just so that he knows that it can. And again, it's that message that even in the darkest moments, to look for the light, basically. And it transitions actually perfectly into issue 4, because now it centers around Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they are now tasked with tracking down the commander from the prior issue, who's gone off the deep end. He's gone rogue. Call it whatever you will. He's joined this cult, or this band, this sort of splinter terrorist cell type thing, called the Death Wind, and Admiral Yularen tasks Obi-Wan and Anakin with tracking this man down. And prior to leaving, it's understood, or it's implied that maybe the best thing to do would be to take him out, right? And Anakin's response to that is, basically, it's unacceptable. No one is beyond saving, that sort of stuff, because Obi-Wan has taught him that. And so they're confronted. They go off. They confront this group. They're brought to the former commander, and they get the monologue. This is the end of valor. Basically, this is welcome to how is it described? Pause for dramatic effect.
get it out.
I have the issue here, so I can reference it. So he says, "Welcome to the natural end of valor." Right. So after all the wars are fought, after you go through everything, right, you're left with the memories of everything that's happened, right, and the post-traumatic stress of it all, right, and this is being conveyed through comics, but I think we're all aware of the actuality of that in real life too, and so there's this back and forth between Commander Meektrix and Obi-Wan and Anakin, and Obi-Wan tries to coerce him to come with them, right, to convince him that he has a reason to pull back, and he tries to kind of bait him with talking about the sunrises from his home planet, and again ties back into issue number 3, and that's just not going to happen, and he makes a move, he makes a lunge, and out of instinct, it's great the way that this issue's written, because at this point you have Anakin reaching out for the saber, and it almost flies through his hand, through Meektrix's hand, and Anakin ends up stabbing him, and immediately feels remorse, regrets, tells Obi-Wan, Master, I didn't mean to. And Obi-Wan says, you did nothing wrong. And his reply, Matrix's reply is, don't hold it against me, boy. It merely seemed the quickest way back to the sunrise. And so Obi-Wan finishes with saying the light will shine again once the storm passes. So issue 3 and 4 and sort of the whole concept of these books, because the stories all take place while Obi-Wan recalls these memories during a sandstorm. And so the entire story, the entire book takes place during a storm. And so as we've kind of already discussed, the messages center around coming out of these situations to always find the light. And I think, for as flawed as all the Jedi were, right? But one thing to always remember, and we can think about what happened at the end of Kenobi, right, is that despite everything that happened, Obi-Wan still tried to rescue Anakin. He still tried to bring him to the light, right? And then we see it personified with Luke and Vader, trying to bring him to the light. And that a Jedi's role is to always look for the light, even in the darkest of times.
Yep, that's pretty well said. I don't have a lot to add to that. Based on, that's it. You see it over and over again. Even with Anakin fighting so hard in that issue that there's still a chance to save him. Just playing off of his own story that we have come to know. He was at the darkest point and still came back. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, so as far as the book's concerned, I've really enjoyed them so far. We've talked about on previous episodes that I'm relatively new to the comic game, and the last issue, I believe this is just a 5-issue run, which is kind of disappointing, but it comes out Wednesday, so issue 5 comes out Wednesday, and I looked at the little synopsis before coming over here to record. Which, by the way, we are back in the Jedi Temple tonight. So we're back in the mothership. So, but that old Obi-Wan or older Obi-Wan finds a group of abandoned stormtroopers out in the Judlin Waste, and only one is still able to be saved, and so he supposedly risks himself to help this stormtrooper who reminds him of the clones that he fought with so many years ago. So, again, always looking for the light. So it'll be interesting what that story has to tell. So, yeah, that's really all there is about that.
That is the comic wrap up.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, and then, well, do you want to talk about the High Republic stuff too here, or do you want to talk about that?
Wherever you want to talk about.
Because, technically, it does.
It drives right through.
It is the comics, right? So, yeah, so phase 2. Yeah, phase 2.
Phase 2 is
Thank
coming.
you.
Yeah.
Phase 2 is about ready to launch for the High Republic. So, issue number 1 drops October 12th. So, this takes place after... Well, it's during the Quest for the Jedi. So, this is part of the prequel phase. Takes place 150 years prior to the events of Hetzel and Starlight Beacon and that sort of stuff. So we're gonna get ourselves a prequel phase. But so the comics drop or start back up again October 12th. On September 27th, we get The Art of Star Wars: The High Republic by Kristen Baver, and they actually talked about this at Celebration during the High Republic panel, and it's effectively a lot of concept art. Well, I guess technically it's all concept art because it's for the novels, it's not for the comics. But how the different characters were designed or imagined. So it sounds like it's going to be an amazing sort of coffee table book, for lack of a better word. But that comes out on September 27th. The first novel of Phase 2, which is the young adult novel called Path of Deceit, written by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. That drops on October 4th. And then the adult novel, which will be Convergence, written by Zoraida Cordova, and the junior novel, Quest for the Hidden City by George Mann, both are still TBD. They don't have any release dates yet. And then there are 2 new things coming from Dark Horse. It'll be Dark Horse's first Star Wars comic in quite some time. It's going to be titled Quest for the Jedi. It's written by Claudia Gray. And then there's going to be a graphic novel written by Daniel Jose Older, which doesn't have a title currently, but that's going to be put out by Dark Horse.
Excellent.
A lot of great High Republic stuff coming for those who have enjoyed that era. I know myself, I'm so close to finishing Rising Storm. I've got like 80 pages left, so I need to power through that and then churn through The Fallen Star.
Oh, yeah.
Before I dive back into these comics and these new books. So
Otherwise, there'll be spoilers.
Indeed. I was reading back through.
Actually, they're prequels, right? So they wouldn't be spoilers. Oh,
that's a good point.
It won't slow you down.
That is a good point. I can read without worrying. Well, that's probably true to a point, because in Phase 1 they tied the comics into the books, and so I was going back through rereading the High Republic, first phase, and I realized that I got to the point where it got to the Rising Storm, and I was like, I gotta stop. So, and that's when I went and I sat and I read like 150 pages of the Rising Storm.
So you get through it,
the next day. So, just trying to get through it so I can finish those comics. So, which I realized that I actually don't have 2 of the issues, and I'm really disappointed about that. So I'm gonna have to find issue 14 and 15 somewhere.
I'm sure they're around.
Probably. So, but with that, we'll wrap the comic discussion. So D23 was this past weekend. It's Disney's enormous convention. Happened to be at the same convention center that Celebration was at. Tons of discussions, with Marvel and the parks, and we finally got an update on the Splash Mountain update, which is apparently going to happen in the spring, be finished by the spring. So that's not why you're here, but.
No, let's talk about the parks for a second. Let's just churn out about 30-40 minutes on just the park updates.
Well, they did show they did show Mando and Grogu, at Disney, their get up, and because they're at Disneyland, they're going to have Mando and Grogu walking around Galaxy's Edge, which they mentioned at the parks panel at Celebration, but I think they had actual photos of what the get up's going to look like, which. We know what Mando looks like. We know what Grogu looks like. The only, he's going to have him off his hip, basically. He's kind of got...
In the satchel?
Kind of, yep. So, but aside from that, there wasn't really anything new for Star Wars at the parks that I saw. And frankly, there weren't a ton...
They're not lowering the price on the Star Cruiser?
No, they got... In fact, I heard they're raising the price to inflation. Anyways,
I don't have a punching bag in this room, so...
Oh, I know. Oh, that would be perfect right in that corner there.
Be.
But as far as Star Wars announcements, there frankly weren't many.
We had most of the information already.
True. So what we did get were some firm dates, because there was some speculation about Bad Batch and when that was actually going to come out. Because
so many rumors flew around a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Oh, it's going to launch 2 weeks after Andor." Like, they wouldn't do that to us.
Well, and that was the original plan, was for it to come out September 28th, and then there was a rumor that it had been delayed, and then there was another rumor stating that rumor was false. And so
the rumor was just a rumor.
It's a rumor, and don't believe the rumors. And so it turns out that the initial rumor of it being delayed was true, and probably not so much delayed as just pushed back. And so January 4th, 2023 is when Bad Batch Season 2 will be dropping, which is great. That's fantastic. It's kind of spacing it out because we got the launch date for Tales of the Jedi,
which looked great.
Which looks so good.
I'm so excited for those.
But that comes out October 26th, and we're getting all 6 episodes at once. This won't be like a a weekly drop. And so now I wasn't in the neither of us were in the Tales of the Jedi panel at Celebration, and so for us seeing the trailer was the first time we got to see the trailer. And
I can't
first
wait.
thoughts.
I can't wait to get back with Ahsoka, young Ahsoka. Looks like getting pulled from her family. Like, yeah, I can't wait to see all that. I mean, it's kind of the sad time for a Jedi, like as far as the Jedi life goes. Hashtag Jedi life. Get pulled from your family at a very young age, and your parents have to let you go, and your siblings may not go with you. So, and we saw that already in live action. So, seeing those kind of things, like, I mean, it's not the things you necessarily always want to see, but I am very excited to see how Ahsoka handles that and what her journey looks like. So,
yeah, and that scene or that little clip of Anakin teaching her the move that she uses in season 7 to protect herself from the thing that he will inevitably trigger. That's kind of cool, and it shows, the best way I can protect you is to teach you to protect yourself, right? And because just like any parent to their kid, right, eventually, they're not going to be there to protect you every time, right? So, but then, with her story, with that Inquisitor at the end, what? It looked awesome. Like he almost looked kind of like he almost had like a Grievous type look to his face. It wasn't mechanical,
just the shape of it.
but just the shape of it. But then the thing I was most pumped for is the Dooku story.
Yeah.
And so those are the two that we get, right, is the Dooku snippet and the Ahsoka snippet. And we've seen a ton of Ahsoka from relatively early, younger Jedi days to season 7 of the Clone Wars. We don't get young Dooku outside of the books, right? And one book I really need to read is Jedi Dooku Lost, or Dooku Jedi Lost. I think I mixed that up. Anyways, and I have seen some people talk about how they're worried that this show is going to like retcon certain things that happen in there. But we get,
I'm sure it will to an extent.
Right. And I think they're just hoping that it doesn't retcon certain aspects of it. But, we get Dooku and Qui-Gon, and there's
who doesn't want more Qui-Gon, first of all, but also Dooku.
Well, and what I think you're going to get is, we all know Qui-Gon as that, I know there is no gray Jedi, right? But that Jedi who kind of, he's a free thinker, right? He thinks beyond the council. He sees the larger world, right? And it looks like in this series, we're going to have Padawan Qui-Gon, who's probably got this idealized version of what being a Jedi is, and Dooku's about to run him through the school of hard knocks and kind of show him that, things aren't always as they seem, and mold Qui-Gon into that Jedi that he becomes. And then,
That's why he's not on the council.
Right. And I think to some extent, some of that did wear off on Obi-Wan, but maybe not to the extent that Qui-Gon might have liked. But with the Dooku story, there was a scene where, they're standing, it almost looks like with, I don't know if it's a rebel group or just a group of villagers who are being oppressed by some other group, but it gave me a sort of imperialistic, like a British Empire feel, like with their outfits, their costumes, and the lines in the trailer talk about Dooku warning of the darkness to come, right? And I don't know if it was necessarily Palpatine himself, right, but that the Republic was slowly becoming imperialistic, right? And yes, obviously we all know that Palpatine pushed it over the edge, right? But it's almost like that was in play before, and we've talked about that in the past with the Bad Batch. There's no way that they had all that stuff, that had to have been sitting around waiting for that transition. And maybe, just maybe, that's some of the stuff we'll get from the Dooku story. So I can't wait for that. I don't know if they talked about the other 4 stories or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna be excited for all of them. And honestly, I hope they're not like 30-minute episodes. I hope we get like hour-long animation episodes. Like, oh gosh, give it to me, come on. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, Star Wars animation's back, and I love Star Wars animation. So the other two things we got was the Mando trailer officially dropped.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys got to see that at the Mando Plus panel.
Yeah, I don't have to share my phone screen. I'm just
Right.
kidding.
And the person who's been passing around the bootleg version from the convention, they've been one upped with an HD version of it. So I don't know if it was the exact same as what you guys
It's a
saw.
little different. There's a couple added stuff. It looks great though.
Mhm.
I mean, just epic.
Right. So back to Mandalore, we already knew that. We're gonna get a lot of time in the N1 Starfighter, which I'm
Not
cool
mad
with.
about- Yeah, not mad
I'm
about.
cool with that.
Until he gets his new Razor Crest. Come on, new Razor Crest.
Yes. All the Lego builders and Hasbro collectors are just hoping for it. But yeah, then you get the covert Mandos, back, which apparently, and I must not have seen this, but I've seen it all over social media about how like the orange Mando was there the whole time in the covert. They just were like set back so you couldn't really see him. I don't know. I'm not that eagle eye.
Potential.
I'm not that eagle eye.
I'd have to rewatch season 1 again, and do I want to do that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Which is now 3 years old because it came out when Disney Plus dropped 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is hard to believe it's been 3 years. Anyways, so myself, sitting on a bunch of Mando battle packs that have the orange Mando and the blue Mando and the green Mando, I'm just very, very pleased. So, well, I'll be pleased if the price goes up. If the price goes up. But
That's
early,
why I just checked my Dooku pop real quick, just so I'm like, oh, I forgot he was in there. Yeah, let me look at that real fast.
Mhm.
He hasn't gone anywhere yet.
No. Well, that's because we don't have the black hair Dooku. Right, you've only got
It's the only one Dooku
the-
pop that's been made.
the extended chin Dooku. But Mando early 2023. Do we think it'll come out prior to May 4th? Or
Yes.
you think so?
Yes, has to.
Okay.
When's Ahsoka?
Well, that's the thing. Ahsoka's still filming.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Ahsoka's on May 4th.
Right.
I think we get. I want to call Mando late February.
Okay. I was gonna say March, but like mid-March,
That's what I'm hoping.
like
for,
around
at
spring
least.
break.
Because at that point it'll be a year and a half, right? No, not quite.
For
Yeah.
what?
Mando? When was the last season of Mando that came out?
December 2020. So it's gonna be over 2 years
Between seasons?
between seasons.
Oh, yeah, I always forget that it was Boba. It was still Book of Boba.
Yeah. Mando 2.5.
um,
The Book of Mando Fett.
but yeah, so yeah, it's been 2.5 years.
Which is kind of wild.
We got some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'd like to get it out sooner the better. So hopefully February, early March.
Yeah. And then, so then that would leave, maybe, room for Ahsoka to drop May 4th. There wasn't a whole lot of, there were no new announcements with that. I believe there was just a recycled, I don't know if it was a picture or if it was a, something physically there of Sabine looking at the mural. But we did get something 2 days ago, which is they have cast the live action Ezra Bridger.
So good.
And it's going to be Aman Esfandi, which I saw the report in the Hollywood Reporter, but now it's being
It's everywhere.
widely circulated. But, I mean, visually,
Looks just like the guy.
looks the part.
I mean, looks just like the cartoon version. So, very excited for Ezra to come to live action. We knew he was going to come based on the fact that we knew Ahsoka was looking for Thrawn, and the last time we saw Thrawn, Ezra was with him. So, it's hard to find one without the other, most likely.
Yeah, so the actor himself, he's actually, I did a quick IMDb search. He does not have a lot of credits to his name, like big credits, which is obviously fine. So
I mean, neither does
this will be his
Sabine
first
either.
this will be his first premiere role, at least from what I can see from a feature perspective.
Can we say Star Wars roles are all premiere roles?
Probably at this
Yeah,
point,
I
yeah.
think so.
At this point, I think so. So yeah, that was really exciting news to get. I don't know why it came out after the convention or after those panels. I don't know why they couldn't just announce that there. Like, I feel like that would have been cool.
At D23?
Yeah, D23.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been a cool little, hey, because we got that at Celebration, we got the official announcement
For Sabine
of Natasha,
yeah.
and it would have been cool to have him.
And Chopper. Don't forget
Well,
Chopper.
of course,
Don't
Chop.
forget about Chop.
Chop. Sorry, it would have been cool for those at the Lucasfilm panel at D23 to have gotten, hey, here's Ezra Bridger, because it's not like they signed the contract, within that 12-hour period of the Hollywood Reporter.
Maybe right after right after they did the panels, they're like, you know what, we're gonna write Ezra in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah, we'll clear some space for a fan favorite. So, yeah. I mean, that was really it from D23. No updates on any of the movies or feature length projects that are supposedly in the works. No updates on Rogue Squadron or anything like that. So, kind of a slow show for Star Wars, which, if Celebration hadn't happened, it probably would have been. I would think it would have been, well, yes, correct. If Celebration hadn't happened and you still had the lack of announcements, it would have been a huge letdown. But I think if Celebration hadn't happened or been this year, I think you would have probably seen a few more.
Oh yeah.
Things, right? But nevertheless, Andor drops next week. A month later, you get Tales of the Jedi. And then 2 months after that, we're getting Bad Batch Season 2. So
Andor continues to just look good.
Mhm.
Like,
we did get a new trailer, I guess, technically from.
it was like a 10-minute documentary.
Well, they put out another.
The
trailer.
yeah.
But yes, we got the 10-part documentary.
It wasn't a lot of
or 10-minute documentary.
the new trailer. It just added two different scenes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Still good. I mean, everything about that show has looked good since we got first looks at Celebration. So I mean, it does bring it.
Yeah, and you alluded to it, but with Disney Plus Day being last Thursday, on top of there being some new car stuff for my son to watch, we got a 10-minute mini doc on Andor.
Yeah.
And the bigger drop was the Kenobi A Jedi Returns gallery. So you didn't get a chance to watch the Andor doc, right?
Not all the way through, no.
All right.
But I got, like, after just watching the first couple of minutes, it was a lot of the stuff I got during the panel, with director and Diego sitting right next to each other, chatting up what they were walking us through for the first time, which is, they're covering 5 years of space, basically. And really walking through what it looks like for Cassian to go from kid to rebel spy to Imperial work. He was all over there. Even in the trailers, we saw him in the trailer in the outfit. So whether or not, however that plays out, it's going to be interesting to see. So, but yeah, what did you pull from it?
Well, so at the end, if you were able to make it to the end, you actually get an extended scene from the show. So, which we've seen multiple clips from it. It's when Skarsgård is talking to him in that kind of warehouse, that sort of brown warehouse area, and there's like Cassian Andor, thing, right? That was a terrible impersonation, but you get that extended scene. So it's 3.5, 4 minutes long, and Cassian's handing over this Imperial data box or data whatever it is. He asks him, how did you get it? I just walked in, right? Yada, yada, yada. They have this discussion, but then they get found out, and then action ensues. And there's a lot of, what were like spools? I don't even know what they're called. Like they look like giant wooden spools that you would tie chains around, right?
Yeah.
They're just getting ripped from the walls as this building starts to come down around them, and they're being fired on by these Imperial foot soldiers, not stormtroopers or anything like that. Just these like Imperial, almost like security detail, I guess. But they get them cornered in this warehouse, and they fight back, and it looks cool, right? It's very minimal in exposition, but it's basically his. I think it's probably one of his first attempts to recruit Cassian. He's like, "Hey, I want you to come with me," and he's like, "Why would I come with you?" and he's like, because you want to fight for something more, right?
The impressions are just killing me tonight. Oh my god,
they're flying left, right, and center. So it was cool to see that at the very end. I made my Connor wanted to watch like a Buzz cartoon, one of them popcorn Pixar flicks, real quick.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, we'll watch it in just a second. And I hit play, and then we watched the entire thing. He's like, no, I don't want to watch it. I said, I know, but Dad does. So
You lose.
yeah. So we watched it. So it was good. It was enjoyable. Pumped me up even more for next week. So we get 3 episodes. It's gonna be
I
wild.
have to go watch that now as soon as we get out of here.
So the thing we'll close with tonight is a discussion around the Kenobi A Jedi Returns gallery. So what'd you think?
It sucked. It was miserable.
The worst.
I don't want to watch Hayden and Ewan talk about Star Wars ever. It's the most annoying thing I've ever seen. Thick sarcasm, everybody. Thick.
The worst.
The absolute worst. No, I loved it. I mean, I love those galleries. Between Mando Gallery, Book of Boba Gallery that came out. I mean, listening to the directors go through their thought process on why the character's important and why they wrote the story the way they did, and hearing the actors talk about their experience, especially with these two. We've said it so many times before, and Ewan said it during it as the films they made. The generation of kids that they were for are now adults and appreciate them, and those are the people they hear the most now, because back 20 years ago it was not, they weren't hearing the kids say how much they loved him. They were hearing the critics say how poor the writing or the whatever it was, outside of the effects, because everybody loved the effects. But he made that comment during the documentary. He also made the same comment at Celebration itself. Was I mean, it wasn't always like this from those movies. So, and you could just tell the role means so much to him, and that means a lot to everybody else. Hearing him talk about how he used to study Alec, walking into the first films. Those are things that I guess you would think that would happen, but also, like, Alec Guinness didn't really do any sci-fi anything, so like there was nothing really to play off of other than his other acting roles. So it was just very interesting, and then hearing Hayden talk about I'm going to use the word blessed, but I don't know if that's the exact word he used in the documentary, but for the chance that George gave him to make Anakin happen and make him the character that he was supposed to be through George's vision, and then to come back and not only do a prequel scene and get back into it with Obi-Wan, but also to put on the suit again and have that one last battle with his old master. Yeah, it's just super. It was a super great watch. I mean, I really enjoyed the documentary. I mean, I knew I would. Obviously we all love Star Wars, so. But yeah, that was my take. That's my take. I don't know if you have a whole lot. I mean, I'm sure you have stuff to add on that, but yeah. Yeah,
I mean, the personal stories from both of them and Deborah Chow and they talked with Liam briefly, and they spoke with the guy who played Roken about it. They had Baru and Owen, which I didn't realize they were both Australian. That was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, they're both Australian. I knew Joel Edgerton was. I did not know Bonnie.
I can't remember her last
name. I didn't know Bonnie was as well.
But
but then you had Moses. They all get to share what not only the role means to them, but like Star Wars in general, right?
Yeah,
and
like, they're so excited to be there. Like, I mean, it's literally me. And that if I had a role in Star Wars, I would
lose my mind.
I'm like, as soon as I put on a costume, I could be an extra. I could be an unpaid extra and just be losing it. So yeah,
and we get some of those early kind of behind the scenes from the Phantom Menace documentary that I've seen before. With Ewan picking out his saber, right? And
what a special moment.
And even you get the audition tape, which I've never seen that before. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure people have seen it, but seeing that initial audition tape of Ewan, he does not he does not scream Jedi to me, right? And I forget the name of the movie that he was in that he was famous for before Star Wars, but
I heard it so many times.
I know.
Because between that and then another podcast, Smartless, just had Ewan on maybe a week and a half ago or 2 weeks. They put out an episode they interviewed Ewan the whole time, and they talked about that film.
Yep.
At pretty good length.
And now my memory is, it escapes my memory, and that's okay. But but he's just he must have been 20 or 21 when that movie came out, or when he got cast for that role. But anyways, you already alluded to it, his admiration for what Alec Guinness did, or at least the groundwork that he laid, right? And him trying to emulate him both in the current series, but as well as the prequels. But what was it? Trainspotting, that's what it is.
I should have had that too.
Trainspotting. But the way that he and Hayden get along, like their relationship obviously is forged through the movies, but the fact that they're still that close, 20 years later is amazing. And you love to see that with the characters that you care about, that the people who play them care about each other in the same way.
Gosh, he's 51 now.
Ewan is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he was 28 because they first started filming in 97.
Yeah.
So that was 25 years ago. Yeah, so he was 26. And he looks like a fresh-faced 26-year-old in some of those clips. But Ewan and Hayden's relationship, that scene, the thing that made me laugh so hard in that entire documentary is when Ewan's talking about the scene on Coruscant where they're fighting each other, and he goes, and I can just hear the digital effects people in the background going, "Oh no, how are we gonna de-age them, right? And I didn't see any pips on their faces during those particular scenes, so I didn't think that they got de-aged at all. Maybe
I think they did a little bit.
I mean, maybe they, but not to the same degree that
Like Luke.
we've seen. Which it's a little bit different with Mark Hamill, but to young Jedi Luke. But I don't recall much. I mean, maybe they smoothed out some of the wrinkles, but
yeah, poor Ewan has probably some eye wrinkles, at 50. But no, I mean, it's still them doing the moves, again, like, it's just fantastic. And like they both said, like, yeah, I got right back into it. Like, it felt like old times.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, you got Moses doing her little bit and talking about what it meant to her to get that role, and you can see, her getting emotional about it, and same thing with all of them. That it was a little less behind the scenes than maybe some of the other ones, right? But you still get that the behind the scenes of the mining town scene where we first see Vader, right? And Ewan's description of what it was like to be chased by Vader for the first time, and how he says he had genuine fear when he first came up behind him, right? And like that's the stuff you love to hear, right? Just the pure joy that they have in playing these characters. And so, they didn't really, I mean, there was no discussion about sequels or not sequels, but follow-up seasons or anything like that. I mean, we've talked about it before. I would be fine with them being done with it, and this was the perfect little, cherry on top.
Yeah. I loved it. I mean, the show was fantastic. The gallery obviously gave insight to a fantastic show that we all had a great time with and had a great time watching. So, and again, I always say it, and I'll take as much grief, but I don't think there's a whole lot of argument. Like everything Disney does with Vader has been outstanding, like just outstanding. And like, again, just seeing him in the makeup behind the scenes, like
that was
so
cool.
good.
That was cool.
He looks so good. It's just insane the things that they've done with him since having them part of their as a franchise. I mean, everything they've done with him has been so good. So, and even when you listen to Deborah talking about like, this is how the feeling needs to be. It can happen at any time where you get drug out and neck snap. Like, I'm like,
Oh yeah, when she was setting up that
Uh-huh.
scene. Yeah.
just insane. Like, I'm like, perfect. That's exactly what, and that's what we got too. So like, and like, I remember watching that scene while she was sitting there talking about it for the first time, and I remember like that suspenseful, like, what is he gonna do next? Because he just ripped some guy out of a house, snapped his neck, and then kept walking down the street. So, yeah, pretty insane. Loved it.
Yeah, I will say the last thing, talking about getting Deborah's point of view on certain things, when they start talking about Leia and Obi-Wan's relationship in the show, the father-daughter dynamic, and what it was like to have, Vivian step into that role, right? For all of them to some extent, stepping into a legacy character, because even Hayden and Ewan did that to an extent, and that how she just fit into that role so well, and the behind the scenes of Deborah talking with Vivian about how would you act if you'd been caught or if you'd gotten in trouble, like what would you do to try and get out of it? I would give hugs. I would give a hug, and that's how she does the scene, right? She gives her mother a hug and then snatches Lola away, right? And so that endearing moment, right, came out of that. Well, how would you do this, right? And allowing her to dictate how the character should act versus the director, Deborah in this case, to say you need to do it like this, right? And that's a testament to her as a director in allowing her actor or actor to do what they feel is right for the character in the moment, right? And allowing them to bring a piece of themselves into it too.
Right, and that's just all. I mean, you're talking about a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you're a kid. What would you do? I haven't been a kid for a while, so I'll take your insight right now. But it was very special, and even hearing Ewan talk about the relationship build with her throughout the show. Obviously, when they first met each other, they were strangers. But as they went along, it was similar to Obi-Wan and Leia, becoming closer, and by the end being like almost like a father-daughter, at least a very minimal mentor role. So from being like cut off, no feelings, this is just a mission, I just need to get you back to bail and get out of here. So
now, did you know that Freck was voiced by Zach Braff?
I did not
That
until
was-
I saw, because I watched with subtitles and I saw Braff. I'm like, wait a second.
I recognized him, well, like, because obviously he's doing the animatronic, and I'm like, I didn't know Zach Braff was in this.
Awesome. Well, he's been doing, I guess, a lot of voiceover stuff more than any.
Sure.
In
I mean, he does the T-Mobile commercial
Right.
with Turk,
With
but
Turk, yeah.
that was one of those fun little snippets that I was like, oh, I
It
know
was
him.
cool watching Deborah go through the aliens and
The Creature
the
House.
creature house. Yeah, it's like how mobile can they get with their mouth? Like, and then you're watching all these different things go.
It's awesome.
Those guys are so talented.
That's a dream job. That's
So
like a
much-
dream job for me.
So much more talented than I will ever be. So good for them. I can talk about it on a podcast now, thankfully.
But then we close. Oh, we get the credits, and then we get the end credit scene of Celebration.
Yeah.
And you're now famous, huh?
I'm in it. I made it, guys. I've made it. I'm uncredited still, so I don't know who at Lucasfilm I need to talk to about that, but I'll write them a letter, cease and desist. Take this, either credit me or get rid of the scene. No, just in one of those. It was during the panel, one of their spans. I can point myself right out.
You should take a screenshot of it and then put a big circle around it and put it on Twitter so
I'm
people
telling
can
you
see.
right now, it's I mean, I bragged in a minute, but it's a Where's Waldo moment at its finest. I just know exactly where I was sitting during that panel, so Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Though.
Well, everybody
and
who
wearing.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wearing, yeah.
Right. Well, everybody who was in either that panel or the premiere panel knows where they were, and they're like, "Oh, I was hoping that I was going to end up in one of the hallways, like when they're in the concourse at the beginning of it. I was like, maybe I just happened to, be in the corner, eating lunch or something like that, like we were that one day by the post. Maybe that was the one day that they were recording that, but alas,
It's good times though. Watching that on screen just brought that moment back for me. Like, I had goosebumps just watching the footage from it because I'm in there. I know they're taking footage. There's camera guys everywhere. So like those people with the big lights, like the lightsabers light up. That like the one guy jumped up and yelled. So those guys were like 6 seats to my left.
Gotcha.
Like, and there was a pathway between us, but like literally 6 seats. So like when you see the camera guy just panning on them, 6 seats left.
You were just so close.
I was right there. I should have had a lightsaber in my hand. It was my own fault, but I didn't know I'd be that close.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that was a cool way to wrap it. Just like it was a cool way to unveil it, at Celebration. And it just a reminder of how cool and how much fun that show was. And the fact that we got to be there for it was pretty special.
Spectacular.
So,
yeah,
that's about it.
I don't have a whole lot else tonight.
No? Is that checks notes?
Did we get
checks notes?
Did we get through all the stuff on the
I think so. I believe so.
Really great stuff though. But yeah, next cast, we'll have either right before Andor or we'll have it right after Andor.
I almost want to do like a live watch.
Ooh,
recording.
That would be fun.
Just like an honest reaction.
Are we allowed to pause?
Like the recording?
Yeah, well,
or the show?
The show during the.
Well, sure.
It's all questions.
That'd be fun.
Some people are like, no, we can't stop. We just have to continue going. But then I'm like, I don't want to talk over it.
Oh, right.
I want to watch.
Well, we could have like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 type viewing. That would be fun.
If it was something I didn't care about.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah.
On first watch, I want to watch. Like, that's just it. But, if we pause it to discuss as it's happening, that'd be fun too.
We'll have to think about that. We've got, a week to figure it out.
Time. We've got time.
So.
It's fleeting every day from us. I can't wait to show you on the screen.
You got to show me after this how famous you are.
Yeah.
Or infamous.
It's, depending on what screen you're watching on, I'm either a dime or a quarter. We'll see what it is.
So with that, do you wanna plug our friends over Galactic Dads real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So Galactic Dads, go check them out if you are into any of the other fandoms out there. Specifically, right now they're covering She-Hulk from Marvel on Disney Plus, and then Lord of the Rings fans, you've got a show again to watch. Middle Earth has returned, and they've got the Rings of Power out on Amazon. I believe there are 3 episodes in now, if I'm not mistaken. But those air on, I believe, come out on Saturdays. So.
Oh, that's an interesting day to drop a new episode.
Yes, I believe it's Saturday. At least that was the premiere day. So, I'm not caught up on that, but I will get caught up on that. It's on my list. But yeah, but those are the 2 main shows we're covering right now, with obviously comics, movies, and other stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, at Galactic Dads, wherever you get your podcasts.
At Galactic Dads.
So with that, we're going to bring our show to a close. We appreciate you all for tuning in and listening tonight. Be sure to reach out to us and touch base with us on our social media platforms. They'll be in the show notes. But for Jedi John, I'm Obi-Wan, and until next time.
May the Force be with you.
Force.